I just wanted to come back and give everyone an update. Thank you all for your advice and acknowledging that I am now another statistic of not listening to everyone in my previous posts. I know I was being ignorant and lost, feeling like I was going crazy. The only way to find peace was to continue talking to her and fight for us. What happened was that we went on our vacation on December 5th. She was on her phone a lot because she was actively dating, which she was open about with me. It hurt, and I questioned why I was on vacation with my wife while she was talking to who knows how many other guys. The vacation went relatively well, but it required me to ignore what was happening and what I could really tolerate versus what I had told her I could handle. When we returned, I started sleeping at her place every night, essentially living there. I kept emphasizing my one major boundary: no more contact with her AP. She told me they barely talked and mostly argued about her spending time with me again. On December 15th, she said she was meeting her AP to exchange their things and cut ties, which happened. Throughout December, we had several discussions about the future, and she admitted she didn't know what she wanted. She enjoyed dating but still loved me and what we had. I was clinging to any semblance of hope because the pain of knowing she was dating while I was still in her life seemed less than the pain of her being completely gone. This was a foolish way to look at it, but my emotions were clouding my judgment. I even suggested very unwisely that I would be open to some form of an open marriage in the future if it meant I could still have her. I recognized that suggesting this was a big mistake on my part, but that's where I was at, emotionally. December turned into January and she was on her phone less and less. She became more affectionate, talked about future plans like having a baby and buying a house. However, I was still avoiding facing the reality. She never explicitly stated that she was done with other guys and wanted to be exclusive again. My best friend, my main support, urged me to ask her directly to ensure we were on the same page. I hesitated because I didn't want to know the truth, as things seemed to be going my way. I didn't want to jeopardize that. Sometime in mid-January, I gathered the courage to ask her if she was still talking to other people or dating. She claimed she wasn't using dating apps anymore and wasn't actively dating. However, she mentioned a guy she had been talking to for a few months, but their conversations hadn't turned romantic, and they were just friends. From December to February, we seemed to make a slow progression from "I want a date" and "I don't know what I want" to more like "let's have a baby soon. I love our life now." There were still some red flags I chose to ignore, like her reluctance to put the wedding rings back on or add me back on social media accounts. She kept saying it when I questioned her about it, but I didn't press the issue. Then came February 12th. Her 10-year-old daughter was with me at my workplace, waiting for her to pick her up after work. She was supposed to get off work at 12, but she didn't arrive until 2. As soon as she got there, she asked me to step outside to talk. I followed her, and right away I noticed a huge hickey on her neck. She said, "I was wondering how we should go about this open relationship thing, 'cause I want to pursue it. I'd like a don't ask, don't tell policy where you can do your thing, and I'll do mine. We'll just let each other know if we won't be home for dinner or something." I was completely caught off guard. I first focused on the fact that she had already started this open relationship without even consulting me. I pointed out that all we had discussed was the vague notion of an open relationship at some point in the future. I told her it was absurd to think it was okay to take action first, especially after the affair and all the lying 8 months ago. She agreed and apologized, but her thoughts were all over the place. She mentioned that maybe we had jumped into this too soon, but also expressed her desire to be with me and her willingness to go to couples therapy. The conversation ended, and the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Her daughter, who she only sees one weekend per month, had been waiting for her while I essentially babysat her, and my wife had taken an hour or two to make out with another guy. I know you all might say I should have run in the opposite direction at this point, but as before, I buried my head in the sand, telling myself, well, at least she said she wants us to get through this together, and she didn't leave me. The next day we had a big talk. She confessed that she didn't know what she wanted again, likening her feelings for this new guy to what she felt for her previous affair partner. She said she couldn't stop talking to him and was attached to him. However, she also expressed her desire for us to work things out and agreed to go to therapy to learn to detach from him and avoid another conflict of conscience. I told her that going no contact was the only way to detach from him, but she said she wanted to discuss it with a therapist and would try. Despite all the negative aspects of our situation, I kept telling myself, the key here is that she's being honest now. What had hurt so much before was the lies and betrayal, but now she's being open. On Valentine's Day, we had a dinner reservation for 3 p.m. My soon-to-be ex-wife was known for being super punctual and hated being late. She had class until 12 that day. She called me at 2:45 apologizing for being late, claiming she lost track of time talking to a friend at work. It's evident now what really happened, but at the time, I just accepted her explanation without digging deeper. From February 14th to the 23rd, things seemed to go back to normal, but I still wasn't asking her the direct questions, like, are you still talking to this guy? I had a significant problem with being ignorant, I guess. On February 23rd, my friend called and said he saw my wife with some guy in her car in a town. When I called her, she forwarded my call and texted me, "Hey, I'm on the phone with my boss, I'll call you back." My heart sank. A confirmed lie once again. Liars lie, cheaters cheat kept repeating in my head. She eventually called me back and was unusually sweet, asking if I wanted a special dinner that night. I confronted her saying, "I know you were with that guy today and you lied about it." What the heck? We had a talk about this with... She admitted that she couldn't stop talking to him, but she wanted to. She said she was sorry for trying to cake eat again. With her admission, I packed my stuff and moved back into my place. The last thing she said was, "I'm going to get an emergency session with my therapist. I want us to work. I really do. I just need some space from both of you." After that, I heard nothing from her on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. My friend saw her with the guy again on Saturday morning, and I couldn't handle the anxiety of not knowing what was going on, so I called her on Sunday. She admitted to being confused and that she was just hurting me. She suggested we needed a clean break. For once, I didn't agree with her. I told her she should be fighting for us like I had been for the past 8 months. We had a long phone call where I tried to convince her not to give up on us. She said she needed a few days to think. On Tuesday, 2/28, she sent me a text changing her attitude once again from our previous phone call. "Hey." So, I applied to a few more places to be a patient. I'm hoping to do individual counseling and then some couple sessions. Clearly, I have something to work on. I miss you a lot. I do need more time though, which is something I know you don't want to hear. I want you to know that this isn't just me replacing you again. I'm really trying to understand my feelings and why I feel like I can't stop this. I promise soon we will meet and talk. I know you're lost and hurting, and it hurts me so bad I have passive thoughts again. I love you so very much. You aren't replaceable. I'm just a little broken and lost myself. Hold on a little longer, please. I love you, and one day hope to be someone you're proud of again." This text raised my hopes significantly, as she hadn't been that committed to getting help and improving herself in a long time. However, I made it clear that I wasn't willing to play a waiting game or do the pick-me dance, and we needed to meet up soon to discuss what was going on. She agreed to meet the next day. During our meeting, her mood had flip-flopped again from her message. She expressed her uncertainty about what she wanted, not knowing what she was doing, and her difficulty in stopping communication with the other guy. I reiterated that I couldn't engage in a pick-me dance and needed a clear plan, not "I don't know what I'm doing." She said she would try harder to get into therapy and keep me informed. On 3/3, she called to tell me that she got approved for acute therapy starting on 3/14. I reiterated that I couldn't engage in a pick-me dance, and we couldn't talk if she was still talking to the other guy. Something unusual happened after that. She began acknowledging that I was right about her chasing the honeymoon phase, being in the fog, and seeking male validation due to her father's issues. She asked me to go to dinner that night, and I agreed, only if she could confidently promise not to see or talk to the other guy, which she did. She started showing me a lot of affection, sent intimate pictures, and expressed her love for me, things we hadn't experienced since the affair in November. She even shared a meme about chasing character instead of fleeting sparks, which made me optimistic that something had clicked in her head. From 3 to 3 to 3 to 7, we experienced our own little honeymoon phase. I spent the night there a few times, and she seemed enthusiastic about her therapy appointment and potential couple sessions. She continued to be extremely affectionate during this time. On 3 to 7, I decided to surprise her with Starbucks early in the morning. I went to her apartment and attempted to open the door, but heard her talking inside. I listened in and discovered she was on a call with a guy. The first thing I overheard was her saying, "I already let you see him and me a bunch of times," to which he responded, "And we both enjoyed it, didn't we?" She replied, "Yes, yes, we did." My world seemed to shatter, and I slumped down on the ground, feeling like I was in a movie. I listened for a few more minutes. She was talking to him just as she did with me, laughing the way she used to with me, using the same endearments, and saying she missed him and found him cute. She even lied to him about what she was doing at the time. I decided to leave instead of confronting her immediately, as I was too angry to handle the situation rationally. Afterward, she messaged me as if nothing was wrong, even sending me lingerie pictures and asking me to pick one for her to wear. Feeling suspicious, I checked her call logs and found that she had been calling him every day since 2/12. Whenever she wasn't with me, she was on the phone with him, even while texting me pictures and claiming to miss me. I messaged her telling her I needed to come over and talk. She initially resisted, saying she didn't want a long conversation that day, but I insisted, saying it had to be that day. We met, and she appeared apathetic, a mood she often displayed during the affair. I began to cry, which didn't seem to faze her. She said, "Do we have to do this today of all days?" I just wanted to relax and do my homework. I replied by stating that her husband of 8 years was sitting in front of her crying, and there was no designated day for such conversations. She reluctantly agreed to talk. I explained what I had heard earlier during my surprise visit and what I had discovered in her call logs. She attempted to gaslight me, claiming she was furious about the invasion of her privacy. I countered by asserting that she was actually furious about getting caught and being forced into an uncomfortable conversation. I asked her about her love-bombing behavior and future planning in the past week, which sharply contrasted with her growing closeness to the other guy. I questioned her motives, whether she was cake-eating again, or if she was trying to wait until she knew which man to choose. She admitted to being uncertain about her choice and acknowledged her selfishness and need for help. However, when I pressed for clarity on her contradictory behavior, she could only respond with, "I don't know," and "I'm just messed up." I asked her what her plan was now, and she said she wanted to see where things went with the other guy. I made a sarcastic comment about moving him in, and her response was, "I don't know." I questioned why I wasn't enough, and she said, maybe we had grown apart. She no longer felt the dangerous love she once did, and she was drawn to different types of people now. She claimed she never had the same passion for me that she felt for her late ex-fiancé or her previous affair partner. I pointed out the inconsistency in her recent behavior and asked what the past 3 months, especially the last week, meant. She couldn't provide answers but reiterated that she was conflicted and selfish. She admitted to meaning everything she had said over the past week, but also having feelings for the other guy. She expressed her regrets for being deceitful and keeping me around until she knew how things would work out with him. She concluded that we needed to say goodbye for good. In the span of 2 weeks, her stance shifted from just run away from me to I just need time to want. I don't know what I want to. I love you so much, I can't wait for our future family, and finally to he's probably moving in. We need to say goodbye. I don't need anyone to tell me that she's in serious need of help. But admitting to myself that my once loving, faithful wife of 8 years has turned into this heartless monster is tearing me apart. This marks the second time she's chosen another guy over me, effectively leaving me for him while stringing me along. While stringing me along throughout the entire ordeal, I've spent a significant amount of time over the past 3 months convincing myself that I'm intelligent enough to believe that our situation is somehow unique. That our story doesn't conform to the typical narrative of infidelity. I've been clinging to that idea, desperately seeking a temporary respite from the immense pain of losing her. But it hurts more now than it did before, because this is the second betrayal. And I recognize that if I had heeded all the advice from people like you, I would already be 3 months into my healing process. It feels like I'm back at square one. For anyone in a situation similar to mine, I would suggest reading the last paragraph above multiple times. While there might be rare exceptions where the story doesn't follow the typical pattern, it's crucial not to convince yourself that you are that exception. It's safer to heed the advice of those who have been through similar experiences and not to bury your head in the sand to avoid hearing things you'd rather not. It may provide temporary relief, but the pain will only intensify later on. I'm currently waiting for the signed divorce papers to arrive in my mailbox, and I'm proceeding without delay in that regard. We've said our goodbyes following our last conversation on 3/7, and I know my only path forward now is to maintain no contact and focus on healing as best as I can. I'm starting individual counseling next week. Despite having ignored all the advice I received here, I genuinely appreciate it. Looking back on all the replies in hindsight makes me wonder why I couldn't listen before, but here I am. Hello everyone. Just wanted to provide an update. It's been approximately 6 weeks since our goodbye. The first few weeks were tough, but I gradually started feeling better. One thing that helped was rekindling old hobbies I had before we met, which kept my mind occupied. After a few weeks, I also realized how enjoyable these hobbies were and how much free time I now have. It made me rethink how and why I had reached a point where I believed that my STBX was everything to me and nothing else mattered. In reality, there were many other things I enjoyed, which she had taken away from me during her affairs. I see her now for who she is and what she's done to me, rather than the woman I thought I needed, no matter what. When we said our goodbyes, I asked her to leave the signed divorce papers in my mailbox the following week, but that never happened. It felt like another slap in the face. After waiting for a month, I filed for divorce without her papers, and she'll need to return them to the court directly. I have no idea what she's up to now, and I honestly don't care at this point. One interesting fact that differs from many stories is that my ex-sister-in-law still lives with me. She lived with us for the past 5 years, and we were close during that time, becoming good friends. When the first affair occurred, Sayal took my side, and when STBX moved out, she told Sayal to be alone and essentially fend for herself. So Sayal came with me to my new apartment. We still maintain a good roommate relationship, and she isn't on friendly terms with STBX and doesn't communicate with her much. It's actually nice to have a passive connection through her, to get updates about the dog STBX took and my ex-stepdaughter, as they were obviously important to me. All in all, I'm just another person saying it gets better, just give it time. I know that statement meant nothing to me 2 months ago, but I'm still saying it for anyone who needs to hear it. Looking back, I've been through so much with this situation, such a crazy roller coaster. I remember it feeling like it was never going to end. However, going no contact and breaking through that wall of hopelessness was the key to getting a grip on everything and starting to heal.